What's up, fuckers, and welcome back to another video today here on the channel. We do not have a normal rebuild today, but I'm trying out a little bit of a new style of video, and I'm going to see what you guys think about it. We are fastly approaching the NBA's trade deadline, and there were two moves made today that, let me tell you, man, would be shocking moves in an offseason, never mind a trade deadline. The first one, Mccullum heading to the New Orleans Pelicans. We're going to talk about that one first, and right after that, we will get into pretty much the biggest trade that I think we're going to see probably of this deadline, that being Domontas Sabonis being the main focal point heading to Sacramento. And oh my God, Tyrese Haliburton is officially an Indiana Pacer. All right, so as I mentioned, we're going to start out with the Mccullum one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read you guys the full trade. I'm sure 99% of you guys know what it is, but just so we have some background, some information, just so we're on the same page. The Pelicans are sending out guards Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Didi Louzada in a deal. New Orleans is also sending a protected first-round pick and 2 second-round picks to Portland. The first pick is number 5 through 14, protected in 2022, and if it doesn't convey this year, the first-rounder kicks to the future for the Portland Trailblazers. Portland is also sending forwards Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell to New Orleans. Now, first gut instinct when I saw this, obviously typically the team that gets the best player, the first gut instinct is always going to be they got the W. They're getting the best player in the deal, and I don't really think anybody's arguing that. They kind of traded a lot of little pieces and they ended up getting Mccollum back. But what I think really is kind of going unnoticed right now and kind of under the radar is that Larry Nance Jr. and Tony Snell are going to be pretty good players for New Orleans, and they're going to play, especially Larry Nance Jr., especially because God knows what Zion's up to these days. But Mccollum, when I look at that offense right now, he's going to fit in very well with Brandon Ingram, and I honestly think he's kind of a missing piece that team did need, and kind of a missing guard they really didn't have for many years. So funny enough, the Pelicans are actually currently sitting at 21 and 32 right now, which is kind of weird to say, but they technically are a playoff team, play-in team, whatever you really want to call it, as the 10 seed right now. So really anything can happen, and in my opinion, this team only got better. Who knows what's going to happen with Zion Williamson? I'm hoping he can return. Hopefully the man can lay off the gumbo or something at this point. But honestly, when I look at this trade, I don't think it's nearly as bad as the next one, man. Obviously, Mccullum is not in his prime. We should say he's past his prime. He's not exactly what he used to be. He's still a very good shooting guard. And honestly, I think his fit with Ingram, Valanciunas, and hopefully Zion at some point is going to be really, really good. And I can honestly see this Pelicans team maybe being not a contender, but obviously maybe a little bit of a higher playoff spot than what they would be at that 10 spot. So now let's talk a little bit about the Portland Trailblazers side for this. Obviously, Dame and CJ were in a backcourt together for, I think, since, 2013? Is that when CJ was drafted? Right around there. I'm not 100% on that one. But Josh Hart, Thomas Satoransky, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Didi Louzada, or Louzada, whatever the hell his name is. He's not the focal point of this deal. For me, if I was focusing on one positive of this deal, one, it would probably be the first round pick, because obviously anything can really happen in New Orleans. We really don't know. That pick is projected 5 through 14 this year. If it somehow ends up being 15 or 1 through 4 by any chance, really hit a home run there for I almost said Detroit. Really hit a home run there for Portland. And then, the Nickeil Alexander-Walker part for me is probably the most exciting. I mean, Josh Hart, he's good. We know what Josh Hart is. I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker is how old? 23, something like that? There's a lot of potential there, and honestly, if I had to make maybe a focal point on one of the 4 players that ended up getting traded back to Portland, he would probably be my guy. And I'm sure, again, there probably were a decent amount of suitors for Mccullum. A lot of teams would probably want to use a guy like that with his level of talent. But end of the day, when we're at the trade deadline, teams are literally on the cap ceiling right there. There's only so many suitors, only so many places he can go with the contract that he does have. So, in my opinion, I think Portland did a pretty good job of this one. If they maybe got back one more first-round pick, that might have been a little bit better. But honestly, getting that one first-round pick from New Orleans, and then obviously the 2 seconds as well, is nothing to call home about. I mean, it's nothing to be upset about. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that first-round pick can turn to anybody. And when I look on the Portland side of this, man, it was time. It was definitely time. That roster, that court they had been having for so many years, it was time to blow that up. I'm assuming Nurkic is probably going to be next. I don't see a way that they're probably trading Damian Lillard at the deadline. I just don't think that would be smart. Also saw a couple of reports from Woj they want to build around him. I don't know how smart it is to build around a 30-plus-year-old guard who has injury problems and who even know if he wants to be there. But he didn't run from the grind. You got to give him credit for that, man. Other than that, though, it was time for Portland, and I think they honestly probably got the best return that they were going to get at the deadline unless they wanted to wait till the offseason. But at that point, man, you're just kind of delaying the inevitable. So overall, in my books, if I had to grade the trade for both teams, I'd probably, let's see, I'll start out with New Orleans. I'd probably give New Orleans a B+, and I'd probably give Portland, I'd give them a B-. That's my official thoughts on that first trade. Now we have the one that I'm assuming a lot of you more want to hear about, and that is the deal that went down today between the Sacramento Kings and the Indiana Pacers. All right, so this is the one that, as I just mentioned, I'm sure a lot of you are probably thinking about because, again, it was the more recent one, and again, it's probably the bigger of the two, if we're being honest here. So I'll redo the details much like I just did with the New Orleans and Portland trade. So we'll start off from this article from Woj. The Indiana Pacers are trading two-time All-Star center Domontas Sabonis to the Sacramento Kings for a package that includes Tyrese Haliburton, sources told ESPN on Tuesday. The Pacers are also including Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday, and a 2027 second-round pick in exchange for Haliburton, guard Buddy Hield, and center Tristan Thompson. I will probably not be the first to say this. It was my gut instinct. The Sacramento Kings are not a relevant franchise. The Sacramento Kings are not a franchise that has done much right since drafting DeMarcus Cousins. And for the first time in what feels like forever, they did something right. They hit on a draft pick. They hit I'm not going to say they hit a grand slam, but they hit a home run on Tyrese Haliburton. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And they traded him for Domontas Sabonis? What? What are you doing? I mean, good God. I mean, I get it. Sabonis might be an upgrade right now. I'm not getting into that right now. You guys probably have various opinions on which player is technically better right now. They play completely different positions. But when we're looking at the facts of the matter is, do you really, really think deep down, if you're Sacramento, that you have an easier path to potentially get back to the playoffs building around Domontas Sabonis than you do Tyrese Haliburton? Because I don't. I think we all know what Domontas Sabonis is. Sure, he puts up a double-double. Sure, he makes all-star games. But is he really a core focal point of a guy you're going to build a team around? I really don't think so. Also, never mind the fact that the Pacers are not only including Domontas Sabonis, who's arguably their best player right now, which is fine. I mean, that's 100% okay. They're probably getting the best player back in return. But when I look at the Kings side of this, man, the Pacers are including Jeremy Lamb, Justin Holiday in a second. You didn't even get a first for a 20-something-year-old kid who's probably going to be a star, who's averaging 10 assists a game, by the way, and is a very solid defensive player. And you're getting back Domontas Sabonis, who I'm pretty sure I could score on. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing here? I just don't really get that. I mean, sure, you get rid of Buddy Hield's contract. Sure, you get rid of Tristan Thompson. But what are we doing? I mean, seriously, what are we doing, Sacramento? You do not rebuild a team with a guy who's older and arguably worse than your young star. I would have traded De'Aaron Fox before I traded Tyrese Haliburton. Again, that contract's not as easy to trade. But, you know what I'm saying? Tyrese Haliburton is not a piece that you throw in to sweeten the pot. Tyrese Haliburton should be the main focal point of a deal for a superstar, if you're ever going to do that. Not Domontas Sabonis. Okay? He's very good. Domontas Sabonis. I'm not arguing with that. But again, he's not a guy that you're building around in the future. He's just really not. He's like probably the third option on a championship team, in my opinion. And finally, we'll look at the Indiana side of this. Indiana is a team that I really do not expect to make many huge moves just because they don't have many huge stars on their team. Obviously, like, nobody in the James Harden caliber of guys who potentially could be traded at the deadline by Thursday. But what I do look at is that they had so many guys that are just very good at basketball. Nobody that was super good. They had a lot of good basketball players. And that was something that never really worked. They had, let's look at their roster before that trade. They had Domontas Sabonis. They have Miles Turner. They have Malcolm Brogdon. They have TJ Warren. Those are all really good basketball players. But are those 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you want to call it, guys that I'm probably going to mention in that list, are they going to win you a championship? In an Eastern Conference with Giannis, Kevin Durant, Jimmy Butler. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And honestly, no, it really wasn't. So, huge props to the Indiana Pacers. I think they were going to move Sabonis anyways. And I'm sure when Sacramento called or answered the phone and said, hey, we'll throw in Tyrese Haliburton, I would have done it like that. I would have done it in an absolute second. Take Domontas Sabonis off my hands. Take his contract. Take whatever you want to call it. Give me the young star. Give me the guy who's averaging also a double-double, basically, with 10 assists and however many, like 14.5 points, something like that right now. Give me that, because that's what I want to build around. Sure, you have Chris Duarte on the roster. You have Malcolm Brogdon, I believe is injured right now, but also has that contract extension, so they can't actually trade him at the deadline this year. In my opinion, it's a huge home run for Indiana. Also, I have the final stats on Haliburton. He's not double-digit assists. Maybe it's his past 5 games or whatever. He's double-digit assists, but it's 14.3 points, 7.4 assists, 3.9 rebounds, and 1.7 steals on the season. And they got Sabonis, who's 25, 18.9 points, 12.1 rebounds, and 5 assists. 34 double-doubles this season, trailing only Nikola Jokic and Rudy Gobert. I never once said that Domontas Sabonis is a bad basketball player. I'm just saying he's not a guy I'd build around going forward, and it's as simple as the matter of the fact that I would build around Tyrese Haliburton way before I ever built around Domontas Sabonis. But again, just my opinion. I'm not an NBA GM. what do I know? So, I do want to hear from you guys. I want to hear all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Obviously, this is a very different type of video than what I normally am doing. Of course, if you guys want my initial gut reactions to anything, ever any trades, any big free agent signings, anything like that, feel free to follow me on Twitter. Of course, I give my thoughts in there pretty much as soon as they do happen. I'm one of the people that one of the many people probably have both Woj and Shams, whatever you want to call them, trade or tweet notifications on. So that's where you get my gut reaction. But I actually kind of like this. I like sitting down for 10-ish minutes and honestly kind of giving my thoughts. It didn't take as long as a rebuild, and honestly, I kind of feel like I got more out of it. So, of course, I do want to hear from you guys down below in the comment section on so many things. Of course, if there's another huge blockbuster trade by Thursday's 3 p.m. deadline, of course, it'll be uploaded on this channel. But if you guys want to hear any other NBA talks, let me know what you want to talk about down below in the comment section. Of course, I want your ideas and your thoughts on both of these huge trades that went down today down below in the comment section, along with any other video ideas. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I do genuinely appreciate it, and I would love some feedback on this kind of video as well, as I will be paying very close attention to it. So, that wraps up this one. Feel free to let me know any other video ideas, any thoughts down below in the comment section. I love you guys. Catch you in the next one. Fuck the Kings.